Many times the opportunity could be right next to you. You may not have to do research. You may not have to, work through all the possible demand and supply conditions. And it will be most of the time staring at you. I may have been very lucky, but I never missed one. It is a matter of, I don't know how many of you read Sherlock Holmes. Dr. Watson used to keep asking Sherlock Holmes, Mr. Holmes, how do you find the clue? He says, I don't go looking for the clue. But when I see one, I know that's the one. Similar to that, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're looking around very close to you, you should be able to see one when you see one. I'll give you one example. In the late 70s, when I had founded HCL and I used to go up to sell, the place which I chose to go very early was Coimbatore. That's where I studied. I feel very secure on the ground of Coimbatore. And I went to Premier Mills. And in Premier Mills, the youngest of them, Vijay Mohan, was in college, but he was 2 years junior. And they were very generous, treated us very well, gave us a big order. And those days, an order for 4 computers at a price of close to 20 lakhs was a lot of money. Okay? I'm talking 79. And along with that, they said that you must help us computerize our entire group. I was very happy to do that. And along with that, requests kept coming that train so many people, train so many people, train so many people. Finally, I asked them to give me a P&L of this particular order. And it didn't get anywhere. We were losing money on that. At the end of it, the computerized brilliantly. We have trained all the people. They become even more computer savvy. But where is our company going? I looked at it closely. One day, I was discussing this with our marketing manager. What do we do? If I give the name of the marketing manager, you will know what I'm referring to. What do we do now? The more we sell, the more we're going to lose. Then I sent him off. I was in London on a holiday and I saw that they were having a tape-driven, instructor-less, not even instructor-led, instructor-less typing school. Then I captured my attention. It's very good. At least they don't have to invest in anything to train people. At that time we had started a business in Singapore, so I said there must be something by which they will be teaching computer languages. It will make our life simpler. There was a company called Electronics. They taught COBOL programming, as far back as 79, 80 in that time frame. So, I thought this could be a way by which we can find a more cost-effective solution. I looked at who's going to be representing Electronics. It was called McGraw-Hill. You must have seen a lot of books of McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill had bought the company. It's called Electronics. And sure enough, Tata had taken the agency, so the doors were shut. And I tried to talk to the Tatas. They said that no, we are not going to do that. So we went and found, for anyone who's there must be a number 2. So we went to the number 2 and took the agency. And started adopting the courseware. Because courseware directly did not fit into what we needed. We adapted it and found that, this is something which can replace the training program which we were running. That's around the time I felt, God, what am I doing? I'm still trying to find a solution, but not charging for it. Here lies the real opportunity. It is not the computers. It is teaching people how to work on a computer, because we have such a huge population. I called a marketing manager. His name is Rajendra Pawar. He's chairman of NIIT now. And I said that, why don't you just leave this job and go and take this as a business? We will invest. He worked out all his, numbers. The total amount of money we had invested in the computer industry was less than 20 lakhs. He said, I'll need at least 5 times that money. So I looked around and said that if I had 5 times that money, we would not be looking for you. We could have gone there and done it ourselves. But all that I'm giving you is 12.5 lakhs, out of which 10% you will bring, and the rest I will fund. He said, sure, there's not so much money in HCL. He said, I'm not saying that there is money in HCL. I'll go and borrow from a bank. There are a lot of these things which currently you think that you must put all your money and then start it to pay. I didn't believe in any of that stuff. If there is no money, money will come. Okay, this is something all of you must carry in your head. If your idea is sound, if you have adequate courage, money will come. Money is the cheapest of the resources. Today, money is available. Mind and courage is truly the resource that we have. And the rest actually is history. We started NIIT in 1982 or 83, I don't remember the year exactly. It listed in 1993. And 50 days before, Infosys listed. And in 1997, the company became worth $1 billion. Almost the same month in which Infosys also became worth $1 billion. And then went on to become $3 billion. After that, there was certain conflict of investment, interest between NIIT, which is also in software business, HCL, which got into software business. I had to divest one. So I divested NIIT and started off HCL Technologies. If you notice, what comes out of this is that the opportunities all around you. You have to capture it and then have the courage to get at it. Okay. I'm again repeating to you. Finding resources, if your thoughts are good, is almost, you should take it as given. You walk all over Stanford. Today when I walked through the information center, that's what came to my mind. The Silicon Valley really happened because of Stanford and the Stanford Park, which was there. And the IIT Park, Director Anand told me, that was inspired by the Stanford Park. So it's all up to you. Look closely around. You will find the opportunity. Do I have time for one more? Okay. This is a big one. Okay. Around in the country, I served as technology representative in the 80s in the Planning Commission. And Dr. Manmohan Singh at the time was Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission. I grew quite friendly with him. And he is a very clean man. And he had his own thoughts on macroeconomic structures, how the views should be found. And in 1991, 91 or 2, he became finance minister. Was it 92? 92. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That is the time, right? That is the time the country's economy was opened up. It opened up and the stock market went crazy. It reached, at the time, a level of something like 4,000 was unreachable. And it just went right up like that. And then there was a huge scam. Harshad Mehta scam. None of you would, I don't know, you must have been children at the time, if at all. Or there was still a gleam in your parents' eyes. And when the scam took place, it was called Harshad Mehta. He came and did excessive working, and then those days there was no screen-based training. You went to a well and then you bid in sign language. If he says this, you don't know whether he asked that particular share to be about 5, 50, 500, 5,000. It could be anything. And somebody noted down. So the settlement took place. In reality, currently it is T plus 2, is it? Okay. Today, T plus 3. And those days it was T plus some 20 or something. Because they were all handwritten and the shares were not dematted, so they had to physically take the shares and deliver. It used to take that long. So there was plenty of period to manipulate. He manipulated and the capital market crashed. So that was around the time one day I got a call from Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was finance minister. So when Truman said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" He said, "I don't know, Shiv. Do you think that your technology can fix this capital market problem?" I had no clue. I didn't know anything about the capital market. I never traded in shares to start with, excepting the shares which I held myself, of my family. Here when he asked this question, he said, "Sir, just find out." So I went and checked some consulting companies. There was a consulting company in Hong Kong, linked to some consulting companies in Paris. I found the appointment. He said, "You must do something because I can't go to him and say that this is what you should do. I can't be prescriptive. I didn't know this marketplace." He said, "You have to get to screen-based trading." He just told me 1, 2, 3, 4. So there was no screen. How do you connect the telephones? The telephones those days didn't exist. Today you all live in a world of cell phones. Cell phones didn't come up at that time. Landlines did not exist. Okay. And when we formed Hindustan Computers Limited in 76, for getting one telephone, I had to get UP government's recommendation. With that, they sent their industry secretary to go and meet the PN secretary. PN, right? It was part of that. And they then, very generously, they gave us one phone. Okay. So, you're coming on a period of very different scenario. It looked like some funny place. No telephones. And that now, how do we fix this? If our brokers will want to trade. So how do you connect all this stuff? We had, at that time, come into touch with, we wanted to do that as a business. Can we set up a satellite network? We started getting to talk to an Israeli company who was in the business of VSATs. They said that, you're connected up to the satellite. They talked very easily. And for some reason I felt very comfortable with satellite because my brother worked in the launch of satellites here in right after that in the US. He's actually now he's a modeler, but at the time he worked in Houston himself. And what are the places? It's magnificent to see a rocket being launched. I don't know how many of you have seen this film? Swadesh. Shah Rukh Khan film. Nobody here. Not this land. It's really magnificent to watch the rocket go up. And we thought that we could just link it with the satellite and bypass the requirement of a telephone network. That was the only way that we could do this. There would have been a 300 millisecond latency from a transaction. By the time you trigger a transaction and it closes, 300 millisecond latency. You're talking about 91. Today, the trading models in 300 millisecond latency, you can kill the world because they will put multiple trades worth billions of dollars if they knew that such a time is available to you before you conclude. Fortunately, that was not a problem at the time. So we said we could do with that. That's the best available alternative. So we built all the pieces and the government decided that we had to do a new stock exchange after the wedding. They named it. It was called National Stock Exchange. Reserve Bank of India held shares in it. IDBI held shares in it. And I think there are one or two more shareholders, government representatives. So, having recommended this and all this thing, I thought my job was over. Then step back. Dr. Manmohan Singh called Dr. Patil, Dr. R.R. Patil, and he was made the managing director. He was from Reserve Bank of India. He said the best thing to do is, HCL is quoted for this, and AT&T was colossal at that time, had quoted for this. We are going to award the contract to HCL because AT&T will be here today. They will just go tomorrow and we will be stuck with the satellite-based exchange. But in front of 200 press people announced that HCL has been given this and say because it's an Indian company. We were awarded the contract. After that, at the end of it, to make the afternoon very nice, Dr. Patil also announced that the trading will start on Muharram Day on Diwali. This is exactly 1 year from that day. And we had no plans, we had no camp, we had nothing. And he announces it's 1 year later it will start trading. We worked out whichever way we could, the 1 year was not visible. After that, it was just will. As the day came closer, suddenly we had one very nice information. He said, we are all working on this satellite protocol. This is the satellite protocol to which we plan, but that's not the satellite that we are going to use. We are going to use an India-fired satellite. Now, this is a completely new one. They didn't follow. India's satellite don't follow the international protocols. So, now we had to change everything, rewrite. Fortunately, at that time our partners were Tatas, and the turning around and doing that was pretty much their job. And we just sat back and said that you give the software, it will run on our network. They stood upside down and made it work. Exactly 1 year later, on the appointed date, we traded. I suppose how this opportunity was seen or executed, it was It just came literally from the sky. Sometimes when it lands, you also should be prepared to accept it and make it work. So 2 examples, one short and one long. And now it's what, 22 years? It's still working. We haven't missed a trick. Any questions you wish that I could answer to you?
My question is, we're living in this era where we generally adapt cultures, good features from other cultures. But in our trend recently in our country, we are seeing that youngsters, even though we have an idea, we're not able to execute it, we're not able to take it as a business venture, because we have this shell of insecurities and the risk of failure. So what would be your suggestion to us to come out of that shell?
Why would you be afraid of taking the risk?
Because
a lot of people will tell you, eliminate risk. If you eliminate risk, anybody can do that. Correct? So, your stamp should be your risk.
My question to you is that in your era, say you found that a lot of things had to be done from scratch for you to become such a successful person. On a much simpler note, how can we adapt as how it was put to become an even more successful person from a given baseline that you have, even stating that risks are taken from our side as well, sir?
Any risk that you take, at the starting point, it's a zero point, right? Every risk is a different race. And every race starts from the start line. So, today if you take a risk, 2 months ago, I think that's published information, so I can talk about it. HCL invested $350 million in acquiring some part of software of some organization, some very large organization, one of the largest organizations in the world. Now, this is going to, we're working on it and it's expected to be a 15-year business size, and it's about 1.6 or 1.7 billion dollars in terms of business size. But it's a start point is still scratch. You have to build it upwards. It look marginally given our capabilities today. Ours is a 100,000 plus people organization. It's global. It's functioning in 90 countries. So, but this risk at the time of taking it is start point. Just look at the life of the period in which you want the risk to be executed and paid for. Like when National Stock Exchange was started, on that day, it was a colossal risk. But when the first trade went through, just the risk dropped from 100 to something like 1.
Hello, sir. When we start,
I'll add just one point. When we advertised for NIIT, I had taken India's finest professors and teachers, starting from Professor Sampath to Dr. Ramani, and held a workshop, and they suggested that we should commercialize this education. And the advertising program started. It's very aggressive in advertising, or promotion, marketing is very strong. This is a full-page advertisement back in 1983. But yet, there were a bunch of people sitting in our Bombay office looking for the first person to walk in and then write the registration and pay that amount. So it's just that each of these will have very momentous points. Sorry, you're saying something.
I work in a startup, and when we build something from the scratch, I mean, we are always surrounded by people with similar values and energy. But then once it becomes a hit and I need to scale up, so let's say I need to hire like 100 other people next month. So we don't really get people with the same energy and the same passion. So like how do you handle this when you actually do like HCL I think has more than 2 lakh employees. So how do you make sure like everyone you have hired has the same like, or all united towards one goal?
Talk for a script of when we were at college, Srinivasan and I, your chairman and I, we undertook a project to build an induction heater. At that time, you're talking about way back, 67. It looked like we'll never complete it. And but then you take one step at a time and then get to close on it. Even if you're in college, it's the kind of risk that you take in the project that you undertake are different. They don't have to be projects. They could be events. There could be programs. Each of them, if you construct it as a program, it's like a project. I'm sure you must be having a lot of experience. I saw quite a bit of what you have achieved. It's a very good start. I think I will close here because it's well past lunchtime. And thank you very much. It's a great pleasure coming here.
Entrepreneurship was kindled in us from both the panel discussion and Dr. Nadar's words. Before we close the ceremony, I would request the audience to rise to the national anthem. Seeing that you've already risen, we will now have the national anthem.
मन अधिनायक जयते भारत